This episode of Ratified is brought to you by Decathlon. With equipment for over 70 sports, check them out online on decathlon.ie, or better yet, visit one of their stores in Dublin or Limerick. Practice any sport you love. We've got all the gear to keep you going. Are you ready to play? Welcome back to the latest episode of Ratified, brought to you by Decathlon, and we have a very topical episode today. We're talking about the state of play, lads, in both our games. So, Mark, we'll kick off with you. The FRC seems to have been a roaring success. Football in a much better place than it was 12 months ago.
Oh yeah, jeez, that goes without saying. You know, it's been a breath of fresh air, to be totally honest with you. Every month of May, when the Munster Hurling Championship kicks off, Anthony Daly starts sending me texts like, you know, the real championship is about to start now, you know, and over and back, and like, it's hard to argue with it. I mean, the hurling championship, particularly when the Munster Championship kicks in. Sorry, Richie, it does it when it kicks in. I think because there's just like, say, 4 or 5 teams there that are at a level that are playing against each other. The hurling championship is at a different level in Munster. So I think that something had to give. Something, you know, and Jarlath was here this time last year, and in fairness, how progressive can you get? Set up a committee with Jim Gavin as its head, brought in great people, Michael Murphy, Fitzmaurice, Malachy, all these fellas. Canavan is in there now. And like the changes that have been brought in, the changes that were tweaked, I think they've worked. So much so like that now we have a free-flowing game of football again, which we never thought we'd see. Last year, Armagh won the All-Ireland, and the style of play that was there for the last, like, 12 months was just awful just to watch. You know, you've people not going to games now because of the way that the game was being played. That's awful. Like.
But the thing with it, Mark, that style of play, and it wasn't just Armagh, it was every team was doing. We've seen this at club level, we've seen this at age level. That reductive style of play was actually being rewarded. That was leading to success. Yeah, so if you're a coach or you're a player on those teams, totally understandable. We played in teams. How do we win this game? And to hell with entertainment or the masses and things like that. And I thought it was stark last year. The 2 All-Ireland finals were a week out. I was here for the Clare Cork game. It was one of the most incredible sporting experiences I'd ever been at outside of just hurling. It was an incredible game, and 7 days later, you know, the football final was not it was not great. Yeah, dour. So something had to change. It nearly gotten to a stage where drastic change was needed, and I agree. I think it's been a massive success. It's still not perfect.
The games that I've been at, certainly I think that there's been huge improvements in that. It's a far more free-flowing game where now players are going to need to be fitter. The skill set is going to need to be better because there's more kicking. The stats, I haven't seen the stats, but I would imagine the stats in terms of kicking are a lot better than what they have been. 100%, I mentioned on the previous episode definitely that I would entertain the thought of bringing in a second referee. The solo and go has been the best one so far for me.
Speeds everything up. Yeah.
Everything is speeding up, and like there you have the ball. The player can't touch him for 4 yards, and then it's game on straight away. And for referees to be able to keep up with that, very hard thing to do. But yeah, the game has been outstanding.
Yeah, I think the game has been good, but like I went to the last maybe 5 All-Ireland football finals, with the exception of last year, and the All-Ireland football finals in them years were very, very good. Now last year was the exception. You know, like the year. I think that now, don't get me wrong, the game of football the rule changes have been good, but I think when there's a bad game, you always zone in on that particular bad game, like especially if it's an All-Ireland final. Like.
But there's been too many bad games.
No, I understand that, yeah, but the All-Ireland final then just put the nail in the coffin then, like that the new rules had to come in. But like I play football for my club, I've played football for years, and like it's been, you'd actually sit down now and watch a game of football, like instead of, you know what, like soccer is bad enough to watch.
On your phone for
football was getting to that stage, like, but now you can actually sit down and watch it.
What game was it in 2011? Dublin, Donegal.
Donegal.
Like, I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like to watch that game, you could say it was intriguing, but I mean, like It wasn't for Donegal to set up. They set the template of what they were going to do, and
they gave them the best chance of winning. So
they did,
that's
of course,
totally their prerogative to do that, and that the way the game had gone, that type of play was being rewarded.
Yeah,
and you see failure matches, right? Underage coaching, and there's kids 13, 14. How many players we're bringing back?
But it's constantly evolving. The game, no matter where you look at it. We spoke in previous episodes about Stephen Cluxon. Mm-hmm. We spoke about how he has influenced the game. Like the way the big full forward, Kieran Donaghy's inside, reminiscent of the Bomber Listens back in the day. We're now talking about, say, we were chatting, Bubbles, about, say, Conor O'Callaghan and Shane Welch now being the two players, the two other midfielders, and at the trope, the go-to kick is to give to the boys because why? They're your best kickers for the 2-point arc. So there are controversial ones there. Like, I mean, I know you've an issue with all the lines on the pitch.
Yeah, the confusion. It's ruining the hurling matches.
That's not where they are. I don't care about the football rules, it's just ruining the hurling.
It's bad enough having the 45 now we evolved it. Like,
if you were to say, Richie, obviously there's changes coming, you know, the hurling committee, Willie Maher's come in. If hurling probably doesn't need the radical change in terms of the game itself, we've seen exceptional games.
Yeah.
Is there anything you tweak on the hurling side, or is it the greatest sport in the world?
I think, genuinely, certain games lend themselves very well to rules. And I just think hurling is a game with the less rules, the better. Like, there's technical fouls, there's genuine, like, obviously, fouls that you can't get away with. But, like, if we started blowing everything in hurling, it wouldn't be long before it'd get fairly boring. Like, a tug of the jersey happens under every tackle in hurling. If we started blowing every single one of them, it'd ruin the game. Technically, you're not allowed touch a player unless it's a shoulder to shoulder. So, like, but the amount of times you're running at someone and someone puts the hand up and puts the hurl out and meet body to body, like, there's not supposed to be any body collisions in it as per the rule book. So the just allowing the game to flow and just to be played and relying on the genuineness of the players that are playing it is the best approach for hurling. Now, we've probably, what I believe in from a hurling perspective is that you see the way the innovation that came into football over the last 20, 25 years, it just went in a defensive direction, you know, closer towards basketball, bring your players back and play nearly, you know, all of your defenders also need to be able to score and they all move up the pitch and you move over and back together.
Total football,
because of the limitations around the game. You know, you can't kick a score from 90 yards. Hurling has probably gone the other direction where some things are leading to an astronomical amount of scores, which is also ruining the game. Like, when I started, not too sure about when you came in first, Bubbles, but certainly when I started, if you got a score from the middle of the field, you generally need to be on your own. Someone throws the ball out to you and you'd have to hit it a fair whack. Yeah. But the ball has changed. Yeah. The hurls have now changed. Everybody used a 35, 36 when I started. Now you have guys who are 6'5" who are using size 32s and 33s. So the equipment changes. Right. And the scores are coming so quick and fast that the enjoyment of the scores nearly goes, you know. Right. So it's almost gone the other way.
But could you not say there, in that case, you're saying the equipment changes, that changes in everything, like that changes in the golf. Equipment changes in golf in terms of, like, different
I wouldn't say it's equipment changing. I think it's just players, like Richie said, like when he first started, like Henry Sheffield famously used the size 37 hurley. Yeah. 36, 37. Like, I've always used a size 33, but like players now will just Garrod Hegarty, for example, 6'5". He's not going to be using a size 35 or 36 hurley. He's going to be using a shorter hurley because he doesn't want to get hooked. Yeah. You know, so like it's more so players being like, right, the less chance that I have of being stopped at doing something, I'm going to change something to do. Yeah. Whereas then Sean Finn now, for example, uses a size 37-inch hurley as a cornerback because if a lad wins a ball out in front of him and he goes to block him down, he's a longer reach with 37 inches.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
But if we used a smaller hurley when I started,
you wouldn't be able to reach the distance.
You wouldn't be able to reach the distance because the ball, like, for example, when you strike the ball in hurling, it tails or fades. Let's say if you have in a golfing context, when it rains, the ball swerves Whereas that's because of the grips on the ball, you know. And when you catch it, it hurts, you know. But all that has changed, and it came from
Paddy,
Cork.
he wouldn't know any of this.
Yeah.
You're in the Homer Simpson classes over there.
Strong hurling.
There's more.
The hurling stronghold on Gaeltacht.
Look, I tell you, we heard.
Yeah, there's more hurling in down in Kerry than there is in Castleknock.
Nor Kerry. But you know, it's a funny thing now, right? Like, the big thing for me with hurling, and we spoke in a previous Ratified episode about, say, getting more people playing hurling. I think there needs to be more superstars. People don't recognise the hurlers, they've got the helmets on. Like, can you imagine if back in the day when you were allowed to, you know, Sean O'Halpine, all these fellas were instantly recognisable. Nicky English, you know, he was like all these fellas who didn't wear the helmets. And I just think, like, okay, obviously there's the safety issue, which is paramount. In terms of the superstars of the game, who are the superstars of the game? David Clifford, Conor O'Callaghan, they're instantly recognisable. I was at an All-Star 2 one night and sitting next to this guy, and we were talking about the team and, you know, he was on about the hurling team, and did you hear anything? Yeah, I heard that. I was going through the team anyway, and I said, I think your man Wayne Sherlock is nailed in for cornerback, and 5 minutes later I had this fella next to me, and cornerback is Wayne Sherlock, and this guy just right next to me stands up, goes up, gets his All-Star. I was cringy. It was the most embarrassing moment of my life, like, you know, because I didn't know him, and like, you know, but look, I just think the footballers are recognisable far more than the hurlers. Obviously the Great Kilkenny team, they were a lot of the Tipperary team, you know, the Limerick fellas now, you'd know a lot of the Limerick fellas, but I just think that, you know, it's hard to, unless it's a Cian Lynch or somebody like who's instantly recognisable.
Yeah.
You don't know them, and I think for younger generations coming up, they need to know these fellas, I think.
Is the only, say for the hurling side of things then, the game itself is in, the sport is in rude health. It's more fundamental changes in terms of more counties.
I think at the top level, like we spoke in a previous episode, all right, about trying to grow the game at the top level of the Lee McCarthy teams and maybe the Joe McDonough teams. It's at a healthy state, all right. Below that, then probably isn't, but at the top level, it is really competitive. There's a couple of things kind of coming into the game that you'd be hoping could be stamped out. I don't know how you're going to stamp them out. Like, say, like for instance, like a couple of red cards for head high challenges and stuff like that. Like, are they actually red cards? Like, it's, and I'm not blaming referees or anything like that. Like, it's a very, very tough gig, like, and especially a split second decision. Like, but if things like that keep coming into the game, and as we've said about football and about the way football is played, that you try and do everything possible to make your team win. Yeah. If me taking a challenge and there's any inclination that a lad is going to hit me in the head and I go down and he gets a red card, that's helping you to win the game. So I think that's maybe coming into it a small bit, and I wouldn't say
change now. Time, like, it's not. It has become a culture now where if you get a knock, hit the ground quick. Yeah. Physio in, jump up.
It's a bit of game.
Whereas, and there's a huge difference between, you know, if you do something to win a free, like that happens all of the time. But now it's a case of the game has stopped, a fella has been fouled, and you'll try and get him to react, so he pushes you away, and next thing gone. And this has been happening. I remember Clare in Limerick 2 years ago, where, like, what's happening now is that's coming into the game where you're encouraging, you know, I foul Bubbles, he has the ball, and then I give him a dunt in the back, and he turns and gives me a dunt back, and I hit the ground. You know, I've caused the whole thing. Yeah. And I've also gone to the ground, and it's just, that is killing. That is killing.
Refs need to be, because you're speaking about refs not to be pedantic with kind of like in-game collisions, but
I suppose we're coming from
crafty play, as it would be called.
We're coming from
ruthlessly stamped out.
All them games between Tip and Kilkenny, where it was whoever it was, Barry Kelly, Brian Gavin, whoever got that whistle down there, turning the ball, and realistically, Richie, they didn't stop until 17 minutes. Like, you know, for between 2008 and maybe 16, like, that's the way it was. Like, and the game has changed, and we understand that, but like,
it's such a difficult game to referee.
Yeah, like, the fundamentals are still there.
And this
so
is
fast. The players are changing.
Referee comes out battered and bruised more so. Brian, which fella hit Brian Gavin? Was it
Tommy?
That was reckless.
But it frustrates me when we try and compare it to rugby. You know, in rugby, the referee is never more than 10 yards away from the
But it's so
play.
stop-start.
Yeah, it is.
No.
Everything is a set play.
Yeah, it is.
And it's you know, and even in football, you mentioned how it's
Over
how
and
it's,
back and backwards.
it's after speeding up a huge amount. Like, the ball flies in hurling.
It does, yeah, it does.
Flies in hurling.
We were talking about 2 referees in football. I mean, hurling is just insane.
But I still would like, and I was going to come to that. Like, I still wouldn't have any interest in having 2 referees. Like,
Or any referees.
there you go. Training session down. Kenny, no referee.
Yeah.
But like, I wouldn't have 2 referees. I know now people are calling for maybe video assistant. Like, where does the video assistant end? Like, is a video assistant only called for a head contact? Because if you have 2 refs or a video assistant, like in hurling and football, when the ball is at one end of the field, you're a cornerback. You're pulling and tearing out Paddy Andrews up in the full forward. Yeah. Simple as that. Like, and vice versa. When I was corner forward, marking Paul Murphy, wherever it was, like he's in my ear, he's in my face. He has me grabbed by the shorts. He's playing with the clip on my helmet.
He would never do that.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
He'd be a mile out in front of you.
but like if you bring in 2 refs, that goes. The ball is down here. Second ref, I'm after spotting Richie Hogan pulling the jersey.
Yeah, it slows it down. Yeah.
You know what I
came
mean?
in soccer, and I bet you if they could go back now,
They'd take
They take it out.
take it out because
Now,
it's over.
It is, but I would maybe have some sort of a positive effect on head contact stuff. Like, you saw a couple of ones in the league. Like, some of them were, some of them weren't, and then there's others then that weren't even picked up that were. Do you know? So maybe bring in a video assistant ref just for head contact stuff instead of.
That's fine in Crow Park, like, but sure, how many?
Yeah.
Look, and it's similar for the football. Like, it's very good bringing in all these rules, and the FRC committee doing a great job. That's great for the inter-county game.
Club,
like.
but you go back
Once
and
you go
break
to
down
club,
the grades,
and like you see it now, especially we'll say in Tipperary, where football isn't a stronghold like hurling. But like, you get a referee to referee a league game at 12 o'clock on Sunday morning.
We're not going to be mic'd up for championship games. In hurling, in football, it's different in club level. The referees are mic'd up.
But it's underage level, Mark.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but my point is, say for county league matches in hurling and football, you're not, as you say, 12 o'clock game. You're not going to have any of that, and the amount of off the ball.
You don't have umpires. You don't have umpires on lines. Never mind anything.
I didn't think you'd be calling for Hawkeye now. Anyway, but outside of that, we're going back to the football side of things, Mark.
I'm getting a lot of digs here in this episode, am I?
Yeah. Was that a point?
That's an episode on its own now. We got Hawkeye in for that again, but sorry. The new rules in football favour the most skillful players. That is, it promotes.
Is that not what we want?
But Paddy,
this is what I say.
Yeah.
Skill, kick passing, there's space, take on your man. It promotes defensive play. Defenders have to defend one-on-one.
But you know we're finding out, Paddy.
If you were playing there today, you'd love these rules, would you?
I'd absolutely love them.
Yeah.
Because when I was playing, towards the end of my career when I was coming in, and you'd say 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Definitely the sweeper was in play.
These were normally similar to ourselves. We would have played.
Yeah, we would have played 15.
6 on 6. Like.
Yeah, 6 on 6. But and in training it was mind your own man, get out ahead of your man. And that was the way we played it. And if my man won the ball, he had to take 4 steps. Or unless he was going to shoot, he had to take 4 steps. When he was about to solo or hop the ball, I knew he was at his most vulnerable. I'd try and get a hand in, execute a tackle or whatever it may be. If he was about to kick the ball, I would try and get down and block that ball. I think I don't think there's players able to defend now simply because the way the game has gone. Listen,
three of their mates beside him. If
there
someone
you
goes by
go.
it's
There
fine.
you go. Yeah,
Someone
you
else is
have
gonna
fellas,
do it.
and
I agree.
The way the game was last year, and we've seen examples of Rian O'Neill kicking balls from 50 yards over the bar, and they were the players who were getting the limelight because there were so many fellas back in situ that was the only play that was on. Perhaps
22 or 24 players inside the deal.
Correct. So, what this has highlighted for me anyway, definitely, is that man markers they're lost. They're not there anymore. They're dying breed.
But that's not been that hasn't been coached in the last 10 years, Mark.
And Mick Fitzsimons, he was a man marker.
The last one, really.
He's the last of the dying breed, and he's gone out. We talked about players going out at the top. He's gone out at the top, similar way to what Gooch did, won an All-Ireland club, and left, and he's gone out of the top. But that's something that is going to have to be coached again in finding man markers.
I could have played cornerback in the last.
And that's so
4
short.
or 5 years.
Yeah.
I'd have got away with it. 09, it was man on man. I was like, I needed 12 lads beside me.
Like,
But I do agree.
Yeah.
But that's a skill.
It is a skill.
Defending, you're tackling. You didn't have to do near hand tackling. You didn't have to do blocks because someone else is going to back you up. Kick passing, the ability to take men on. The skills the rules promote the best skills of the game. And it's no coincidence we're going to have All-Ireland winners with the best players.
And the last few years, all you had to do was just be close to your man.
Shadow.
Just shadow your man, be close to it.
Keep him outside
and you. Keep him, and if
Someone
it's
else
about
to
to
deal with
kick,
him then.
obviously you're making yourself big.
Because you have this arc and it's 2
I
points.
love the 2-point arc.
People are just, right, sure, look, if I hit it wide, let's go for it.
Go for it, yeah.
It's risk-reward, like.
2-point arc, you're right, Bubbles. It's risk-reward, but it gives teams the opportunity. And we've seen it, no one's ever out of a game. You can get that momentum, and in 2 or 3 minutes, you're right back in it.
It's a momentum factor, like. But at the end of the day, if you're a midfielder, if you're playing from 8 to 15, or even 5 to 15 on an inter-county team, if you can't kick the ball over the bar from 40 yards,
be surprised,
something's
Bubbles.
seriously wrong.
So like, how many collectively players in one team can do it? And you
Look at
look across.
Donegal, Michael Murphy on the FRC, back out of retirement.
Change the rules.
Like, I
come
mean,
back.
talk about it. Talk
down an
call
analyst
Kerry fellas.
result.
Yeah,
Replace Murph with Bubbles.
he's on the FRC. He changes the rules and he goes back.
Lads, if we're to say, right, from hurling and football, is hurling, is the quality of hurling at the highest level, we talk order in semi-finals, finals, is it as good as it's ever been? And the same for football.
Different now, right? And I don't know if Bubbles will agree with me or not, but it has gone similar to football in a similar way that you spoke about defending. That now exists in hurling as well. The blocking and the hooking has gone out of the game now.
Right.
It's all about crowding in the middle. Similarly, nobody hand passes the ball, they throw it. That's another skill gone. There's no high catching whatsoever in the game. It's run into space, ball pinged in your direction, lands in your paw.
Clinical.
There's no, and so what's gone out of hurling, I think, is the man-to-man contest. But the skills that you will see if you go down to a ball wall and you see kids banging the ball off the wall and flicks and tricks, they're all still there, but they're done differently. And I'll give you an example. We did some analysis a couple of years ago when Limerick won the COVID All-Ireland. Garrod Hegarty was phenomenal. I think in 4 games he scored 20 points from play.
Right.
We did some analysis on Limerick after that, and of the 20 points he scored from play that season in his hurler of the year season, he struck 17 of them all on his own. Nobody marking him, nobody anywhere near him. It's about creating, in a similar way to football, it's about creating the space for a guy to be on his own. And that's so alien to what hurling was all about with that man-on-man contest.
So you would say hurling's not at its
I
peak?
wouldn't think it's at its peak, genuinely.
I wouldn't say it is or it isn't. Like it's a completely different game.
Completely different.
I would agree with that. It's a completely different game. You can't compare, really.
But then the same, like 2010 was a completely different game to 2014. No, I wouldn't say completely different. It was.
Yeah, still man-on-man contest though.
Yeah, there was, but it was beginning to change.
Yeah,
16,
slightly better use of the ball.
Yeah, but 16 then another bit of a change, and then 19 then was totally different then again. Like so, and I'm just saying that all Irelands that we played in against each other, like, but the game is completely different now. Whether it's better now, like Limerick will tell you now, it's way better than what it was 10 years ago. Like, but Kilkenny will say it was way better back from 2005 to 2015.
As a neutral though, Bubbles, go on. What do you think?
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it is like I like.
It's hard to see it being as good as.
Like.
Remember that brilliant Waterford, that era of Waterford, Cork, in Munster and Kilkenny in Leinster.
Noughties, like.
Yeah,
Like the
just
90s
before I came.
Wexford, Limerick, Offaly, 90s was incredible as well.
Well, the 90s was incredible, but like, if you look back, a lot of those games were wild enough, you know, like
quality-wise, it may not have been.
The skill level, whereas the skill level at the turn of the millennium, the skill level just went phenomenally high.
But I think the skill level is going to keep going up. But it's your interpretation of what you think is the best type of hurling.
Yeah,
like
subjective. It is.
Kilkenny, traditional, we'll say, counties. Like Cork tried to, like you'll see Cork now, Cork are still trying to be innovative, like of what they do, like and how they can isolate, we'll say Brian Hayes, for example, or Dara Fitzgibbon, like, you know, so like, like these teams are playing the way that's going to benefit them. Tip and Kilkenny are trying to play the way that benefits them, and maybe it's not suiting them.
Football side, Mark? We had a tough couple of years there. Is 2025 like a new dawn?
I think so. I think sticking with Donegal for a second, what McGuinness has done is nothing short of phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because like,
so quickly.
I mean, you spoke about Liam Sheedy, right? And about where you were. You spoke about Pat Gilroy, where you were. What did Pat say? Startled earwigs.
When Jim came in and changed after.
Yeah, and I mean, you come in and you just bring a team from down
2010
there
up,
and not up a gear, up maybe 4 or 5 gears. Pat O'Shea has done it at club level in Kerry with Dr. Crokes. It's phenomenal what these people are capable of doing, and they just bring everyone with them. And Jim has done that. And like, you know, they got to the semi-final last year. They were a kick of the ball away from winning. They could win the All-Ireland, there's no doubt.
He took over Donegal in 2010, like, we're not a serious team.
They weren't a serious team in Ulster.
And within 18 months they'd won the
They were a
All-Ireland.
laughing stock, Paddy. They were an absolute.
You said that, Mark,
stock.
not me, but
But they were. Let's be
no, I
totally
did.
honest.
I know.
They were the team that everyone was joking about, that they were bringing the 2 bags to the games.
Yeah.
One for the going out clothes afterwards.
That's
and
he had to change that and the
change that culture and all that.
And then to come back, I don't. Donegal are not a defensive team. They have a very set way of how they play. They get loads of bodies forward. They're unbelievably. They're quite rigid in how they play. They set their attacks. They get bodies up the pitch. They're trying to pull people out of space. They're waiting for opponents to switch off, and they've unbelievable intensity in their running game. I think this year's football championship, there is, from football people or just GA people, there is an excitement around.
There is,
country,
yeah.
Because
No
one,
doubt.
it is wide open, but the games, you've seen it in the crowd so far this season. There's an anticipation. People want to go and watch this again. Players, talking to any of the guys, they love playing it. We're trying to catch up with the hurling, so if half will go to final as last year's Cork and Clare match, I think we're in a good spot.